Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to give you the fourth unit of cosmetic science question and answers as per RGUHS question bank. So this is the 8th semester cosmetic science. So this is the 5 max question and answer which I have given you, and these questions I took from the question bank of cosmetic science. So I'll start from the first question. Describe the steps involved in the manufacturing of soap. So these are the 5 max question for 4th unit, and the answer is soap is a cleansing agent which is created by the chemical reactions of a fatty acid with an alkali metal hydroxide. So the raw material which is mostly used or obtained from the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom, which is oils. So soap is a natural origin, so it is a biodegradable and eco-friendly. The chemical reaction for soap is fat plus 3 NaOH, that is sodium hydroxide, which gives glycerin plus 3 soap. And the batch process for the soap is preparation of raw material, saponification, glycerin removal and soap purification, and lastly finishing. And the preparation of raw material for the soaps these are calculated the amount of raw material which is selected in order to get a desired product. So the exact amount of the raw material is determined by determining the saponification value, and imported from it contains mixed glycerins, has a long melting point and solidifying at room temperature. So the ship and the storage tanks have heating in which the steam is circulating in the pipes and the liquid flows fed to settling the tank and filter press where unwanted materials are separated down and removed. So the solid alkalis are diluted by adding a water according to the required concentration, that is approximately 40 to 50%. After that, the pure follow and alkali fed to the soap kettle, where the saponification, a mixture of fallow animal fat and a coconut oil, is mixed with the sodium hydroxide and heated. So the soap is pure and it is the salt of a long chain carboxylic acid, where the glycerin is a byproduct of soap making. And secondly, glycerin removal, where the glycerin is most valuable than soap, so most of it removed from is left in the soap to help make it is smooth, and the soap is not very soluble in water, whereas glycerin is. So the salt is added to the wet soap, causing it to separate out into a soap and glycerin salt water. And next is the soap purification. Any remaining sodium hydroxide is neutralized with a weak acid such as citric acid and 2/3 of the remaining water removal. Where lastly the finishing, the additives such as preservatives, colors and the perfumes were added and mixed in with a soap, and it is shaped into a bars for sale. So the question number 2, what is TEWL? Means transepidermal water loss. What is transepidermal water loss? How it is measured? So I am giving the answer, that is closed chamber method. So the transepidermal water loss is the loss of water that passes from inside a body of animal or a plant through the epidermis, that is either the epidermal layer of the animal skin or the epidermal layer of the plant, to the surrounding atmosphere via diffusion and evaporation process. So the transepidermal water loss in mammals is also known as insensible water loss, IWL, as it is a process over which the organisms have a little. So when water passes from the dermis through the epidermis and evaporates from the skin surface is also known as Transepidermal water loss, the physiological control of which they are usually mostly unaware. So the measuring principle for tuimeter, the probe that consists of a hollow cylinder with two pairs of sensors measuring the temperature and the humidity. One pair is slightly higher than the other and it measures the moisture at two different sites and forms this the 12, means transepidermal water loss can be calculated. So this is the diagram for the 12. The 2-meter probe measures the density of the gradient of the water evaporation from the skin, which is indirectly to the two pairs of the sensors, and temperature, which is relative to the humidity. Inside the hollow cylinder, this is an open chamber measurement. So this method is the only to access the 12 continuously with the influencing its 2 micro environment, and the measured value expresses the evaporation rate in gram per hour. So the formula for 12, that is transepidermal water loss, is dm divided by dt is equals to minus d star a star dp divided by dx, where a is surface in the m square, m is water transported in gram, where t is time and d is the diffusion constant, p vapor pressure of the atmosphere, which is mmHg, and x is the distance from the skin to the point of the measurement. And the application which is suitable for the sweat studies and in vitro testing for permeability, it can be used for monitoring a newborn and detecting the skin damage, and it deals for the product development, claim support, efficacy testing and multicentric studies, and the measure of skin surface water loss, calibration of data which is stored in the probe. So the next question, write the formulation and preparation of translucent soap. So the formula for the translucent soap, ingredient and the quantity were given below. This is the propylene glycol, ethylene glycol, cordial, castor oil, coconut oil, caustic soda, tallow, stearic acid, glycerin, diionized water, fragrance, oleic acid, and carcimide Ca, that is. And the preparation of translucent soap, this is the method for the manufacturing of a translucent soap. In that, the step 1 comes boiling, salting, strong change, and lastly pitching, where number 1 kettle process and number 2 that is continuous process. In the continuous process, the splitting, mixing, cooling and finishing, and lastly milling. So the kettle method is used in a small companies, and it takes around 11 days to complete the batch process, whereas continuous method is sufficient for the large quantity production, which is preferred for a large companies, as its name itself states. So the continuous soap is produced. Nowadays, this method is most widely used as a method for the manufacturing of soap, where the continuous process have a splitting. In that, the first steps, which is a continuous process, splits the natural fat into the fatty acids and the glycerin. So the equipment used is a vertical stainless steel column with the diameter, and a barrel is called a hydrolyzer. So it may be as tall as 80 feet. Pumps and a meter attached to the column, where allow a press measurement and control of the process. Molten fat is pumped into one end of the column, while at the other end the water is at high temperature, that is 266 degree Fahrenheit, that is 130 degree Celsius, and the pressure is introduced So the splits and the fat into its two components, and the fatty acid and the glycerins are pumped out. So the continuously as more fatty acid were entered, water entered, then the fatty acids are distilled for purification. And the next steps is mixing. The purified fatty acids are next mixture with a trace amount of alkali to form a soap. Other ingredients such as abrasive and fragrances also mixed in, and the hot liquid soap may be then wiped to incorporate air. So the cooling and finishing, the soap may be poured into and allowed to harden into a large slab. It is also be cooled in a special freezer, so the slab into the smaller pieces of a bar size, which are the stamped and the wrapped, so the entire continuous from the splitting and the finishing can be accomplished for the several hours. And lastly, milling. So the milled bar leather up better has a finer consistency than non-milled scale. So the cooled soap is fed through a several sets heavy rollers, mills which crush, and knife perfumes can best be incorporated at this because they are volatile oils, do not evaporate in the cold mixture. And after the soap is emerging from the mill, it is pressed into a small grinders or the cylinders and extruded. So the extruded soap is cut into the bar size strands and wrapped. So the next question is, write the principle and application of corneometer, and with a neat label diagram explain the corneometer. This is the next question. And lastly, the next question is, explain the advantages and disadvantages for the corneometer. And this is the diagram of corneometer. So the corneometer is widely practiced for the method of measurement of skin hydration. It uses a capacitive sensor to measure the relative permittivity of upper skin layer, because this depends upon the hydration of the skin, and measure the value is a measure for the skin hydration. So the measuring principle for the corneometer is based on the capacitance measurement of a dielectric medium, uses a fringing field capacitance sensor to measure the dielectric constants of the skin. So the dielectric constant of the skin will change with water content. This only changes the skin hydration to be measured by a precision measuring capacitor. These in water content of the stratum corneum, which is converted into a arbitrary units of hydration on the probe head. So this is a fine piece of to ensure that only the capacitance changes to water content are identified. Even a small change in the water can be detected, so the measure time is short at only 1 second, minimizing occlusion effect. So the depth of measuring is 1 to 2 micrometer, and the stratum corneum is ensuring the deeper skin layers which do not influence the measurement. In short, the measurement is based on the capacitance of the measurement of a dielectric medium. So the corneometer measures the chemical in the dielectric constant due to the skin surface hydration changing, and the capacitance of the precision measuring the capacitor. So the measurement can be even slightly changes in the hydration level. They comes to measure in an arbitrary unit from 0 no water to 120 on water. And the application for the corneometer is, it is used for the objective of clinical trials and their monitoring, and it is suitable for the medical surveys. It is ideal instrument for the formulation, claims, support and efficacy testing for the moisturizers, and It also gives the information on the course of the cosmetic treatments. Lastly, it demonstrative to alert the people to a specific occupational skin hazards. So the advantages and disadvantages of corneometer are: advantages: reproducible and accurate measurement of the skin hydration. It is quick measurement time, easy measurement on all the skin sites, check calibration to ensure the accuracy of the measurement. The probe is small and lightweight for easy handling and measuring on all the body sites. Even used for the skin B project on the ISS in space. And lastly, does not require frequent, complicated and consuming recalibration. So the disadvantages: small degrees of abnormalities for the corneometer shape are not easily identifiable and not used in the corneas with epithelial defect and stromal ulcers, were clinically significant for the amount of corneal cylinders up to 3D may not be diagnosed. Suitable irregularities cannot be detected and limited depth of focus. So the next question: with a neat label diagram, explain sebometer. And the next question is: write the principle and application of sebometer. So this is the diagram for the sebometer. And the measuring principle for the sebometer are: amount of the sebum based on the principle that when the sebum is deposited on the translucent element such as a frosted glass or a plastic plate or a strip to the element which becomes increasingly transparent, which is greater the amount of the sebum which is applied for the greater of the transparency produced. Light passing through this sebum covered translucent element is then measured using a photoelectric receiver. And the mechanism for the sebum measurement for sebometer is construction, where it contains a synthetic tape, 0.1 mm thick needle of a castle, 64 mm 2 section, and clock which is time. The measurement is based on the principle of grease spot photometry. So the measuring of the castle with its special tape is produced on the skin. It is then inserted to the slot of the device where the transparent measured by a light source passing through a photochemical measure the transparency, and a microprocessor calculates the results which shown on the display in mg sebum per of the skin, where the application for the sebometer: to measure the skin cleaning effect of the sebometer, and to study the sebaceous gland activity in the diabetes in whom the activity of the class decreased, to study the sebosuppressive effect of the certain anti-acne medications like retinoic acid, to classify the skin type of dry, normal and oily in an objective manner, to study the endocrine control and sebum follicle in women for accessing hormonal changes, and to study the correlation between the bad sebum secretion and menstrual cycle, where to prescribe the pharmaceutical cosmetics suitable to the patient's skin type, to increase the efficacy and minimum side effect, and to make early diagnosis of the senile osteosis. And the next question: differentiate between corneometer and the sebometer. So you have to refer back for the differentiation of corneometer and sebometer, which I have already discussed, and write a note and evaluation of a soap bars, where define compatibility, write its benefits and procedure. So the definition of the compatibility may be defined as a subjective perception of the easy or a difficult way for combing the hair. It is directly related to the forces which are opposite to the action of combing the hair. This is an important attribute in the evolution of the hair conditioning. So the measuring principle: hair combing ring method based on the maximum forces to comb and the total work are done. So taken as a comparative measure, a reduced combing force and work implies easier we compatible the associated with the removal of entanglements and of the hair fibers, and the procedure for the compatibility: move the patient head near the edges of the bed, her face turned away from the bed. Place towel under the head of the patient, extending down the chest and the shoulder. Loose the hair and part it in the maximum. Brush hair thoroughly. In combing, the comb shall stand in a tine. Hold the strand at the time wrapping, and the forefinger hold the stand of above part comb so that the pull or the ear band will be connected. Knot on the hair root. Comb the tangles from the end first. Comb gently, especially when removing tangles. Sometimes oil, vaselines or hair with alcohol use. Gather all used articles, clean and disinfect, brush and comb and refund into the proper places. And the benefits for the compatibility is: gives a massaging effect, get reads from the statistics, distribute natural oils, adds shine, stimulate hair growth. It may help with the dandruff, kindle on scalp and hair, and stimulates the blood circulation. No damage to the hair, glossy hair, no electrostatistics. So the next question: differentiate between soap and the standard. So the soap is used for the cleansing or washing, that the consistency of a mixture of potassium or a sodium salt, whereas scented is soap is used which is made by combining the feature of different soap. So soap has pH issues, scented soap has less pH issue and neutral pH. Good appearance but not more than scented. It is good in the appearance as per soap and produce irritation on some skin. Do not produces the irritation on the skin. More concentration of the color, less concentration of the color. Produce less foam than scented, produce more foam than soap. Also expect combinational soap. Best example of scented soap is Dove soap. Whereas the next question and the last question for 5 marks, 4th unit of cosmetic science: what is hair tensile strength? How it is measured? So the hair tensile strength is defined as a maximum stress force area that a hair can withstand while being stretched or pulled before breaking. So the hair fiber has an elastic property, and the elastic increases with an affinity of the hair keratin for water. So the tensile test is used to determine how material will behave under tension lead. In a simple tensile test, a sample is typically pulled into a breaking point to determine the ultimate tensile strength of the material. So the amount of the force is applied to the sample and elongation for the sample is measured through the test, where the material property expressed in terms of stress and the skin stress is obtained. The force measurement are divided by the sample cross sectional area, where the strain is dividing the change in the length by initial length of the same. And measuring principle for the tensile strength is calculated by dividing the peak tension force and the sample withstand. It crosses the sectional area. A tensile tester is used to measure the tensile strength. A load cell is fitted to the tensile tester to measure the tensile force. A tensile testing machine was specially designed for the experiments on a single hair. The apparatus is composed by a high precision engine and force sensor. So this device is incorporates and the function of the conventional tensile test with the machine. a sample holder, a translation module to pull on the sample, a force sensor to compute the applied force on the fiber. So this is the instruments for the tensile strength where a translation module is a politic instrument for stripping the motor, and it is applied the stress to the sensor, which is transmitted to the computer via a national instrument capture, where KIRD and the amplifier program is implemented on the tap view, which permits to control the engine movement and the data auction. So here I have completed the fourth unit of cosmetics science, 8th semester. So tomorrow I am going to give you the next one. Please do like, share and subscribe to my channel.